Hi there everyone. So as you can see, I have my Easter garden here, and also here I have some eggs, and these are my Easter story eggs. As you know, if we had Messy Church today, we would have perhaps been looking for eggs in the church grounds, and these are very, very special eggs. These are my story eggs. So today is Good Friday, and some of you will be saying, what's so good about Good Friday? That is the day that Jesus died. Well, let me tell you this. Some people think that Good Friday maybe used to be called God's Friday, and maybe it just got a little bit mixed up and turned into Good Friday. But if we think of it as being God's Friday, then that is really good, because it means that this was the special day that God had told us about so many years before Jesus. And it was written in the Bible that Jesus would die, and it was part of God's plan. So God's plan had worked, and Jesus died on this day, which we call God Friday or Good Friday. So now we're ready for the Easter story. And here we have our Easter eggs. And this is the story of Easter. You will remember from last Sunday, we did a Palm Sunday story. Well, this is the very beginning, really, of the Easter story. And in my first egg today, what have we got in here? Here we have a palm leaf. And if you remember, Jesus came riding into Jerusalem on the back of a donkey. And everybody shouted, Hosanna, Hosanna. And they were so excited about the arrival of Jesus. And they said, Hosanna, blessed be him who comes in the name of the Lord. So that's our first bit of the story. I don't think my donkey's going to stand up. But there we are, let's put him over there. So, what next in the Easter story? Now this here is some perfume. And this is very precious perfume to me. And you may remember a story that Jesus went to visit some friends for a meal, and one of his friends, a lady called Mary, tipped some perfume oil on Jesus's head. She did a very special thing for Jesus. And just after that special meal with his friends Mary and Martha and Lazarus, Jesus had another meal. He had a meal with his friends called the disciples, and they sat at a table and they would have drunk wine. Here's a teeny little cup, and they would have eaten some bread. And we still do this now. In church sometimes we do something called communion, and we break bread. Jesus said, this bread represents my body broken for you. And we drink wine, although in our church we drink fruit juice. And Jesus said, every time you drink this wine, do this in remembrance of me. So Jesus wanted us to remember him long after he died. Oh, we have some money in here. Now, one of Jesus's friends betrayed Jesus and wasn't kind and told the Roman soldiers where to find Jesus. Now I've got 3 coins here, but actually Judas received 30 silver coins for betraying Jesus. So that would have been a lot of money. Another shaky one. What's in here? Yes, here we have the cross, which is the cross which Jesus had to carry and on which he was crucified. This one's a quiet one. Yes, you remember that Jesus rode into Jerusalem on a donkey, and some people teased him and didn't realise that he was the king that was coming to save them. And as I told you in the story before, he didn't wear a crown. He wasn't a king like that. He was a king that was coming to save us. And some people didn't like that he was pretending to be a king, or thought he was pretending to be a king. And so they made a crown of thorns and they put it on his head and teased him. That would have been very painful. There, a dice. That's the other thing. When Jesus was on the cross, the people were being cruel to him and they played a game to see who would win his clothes. And here we have the nails, which are the nails that would have held Jesus onto the cross. And when Jesus was on the cross, he was very, very thirsty. And instead of giving him a drink, they teased him again and dipped a piece of sponge into some vinegar and held that to his mouth. That would have been very nasty. Number 10, a very shaky one here. Ah, this is nice. Here we have some spices. And they would have been the spices that would have been put with Jesus and his body inside the tomb. Here we have our tomb, and he was buried to make his body smell nice. So those are the spices that were put into the tomb of Jesus. Gosh, this one's heavy. I wonder what this one could be. Aha! Here we have a stone. And this would have been like the stone at the entrance to the tomb. You can see our big stone here. So that would have been the stone that marked the entrance to the tomb. And the last one, number 12, what's in here? Nothing! There's nothing in here. And that's the end of the story, because that's the good news. When the stone was moved away, there was nothing in the tomb. Jesus wasn't there. His body had disappeared. And the good news is that Jesus was alive. And Jesus was alive, and we celebrate that on Easter Sunday. So that's the day of celebration when you have lots of chocolate eggs. Now, lots of people think about chocolate eggs and wonder why we have eggs at Easter time. There are two things I think about for Easter eggs. One of them is eggs, as I told you in my other little video, are a sign of new life because sometimes they contain chicks. So just as we have new life in Jesus being resurrected and coming alive again, we can sometimes have new life at this time of year with baby chicks. The other thing I think about with Easter eggs is that in some ways they kind of look a little bit like the stone on the tomb. So that's the reason why I think of eggs at Easter time. But apart from that, they're just really nice anyway. Now, sometimes people ask me, what about the Easter Bunny? Well, here's the thing. The Easter Bunny is not in the Bible. The Easter Bunny is probably in your hearts, and you probably enjoy games and things with the Easter Bunny. But just to tell you, the Easter Bunny will be in your hearts for a little while as you grow up, but Jesus is in your heart for a very long time and is very real. And Jesus actually will be in your heart, or should be in your heart, forever. Because although he is not alive on earth anymore, he's in our heart and he's gone to live with God in heaven. So that's the good news today. Jesus died for us as part of God's plan, and then he came alive, and we celebrated him being alive again and alive in our hearts, and now he lives with God in heaven, but is still very much alive in our hearts today. Thank you for listening.